Hello everyone. The quarterfinals of the FTX Road of Miami is coming up. And the one of the exciting matches in the quarterfinals is Rapport against Xiong. And in one of the interviews, Rapport was asked about his chess, and he just said that he's sick and tired of chess these days. Okay, probably playing too much chess for the past 2 months. You have the candidates, you have this online thing, you have the super bet in Romania. So it's a lot of chess for Rapport, and it's pretty exhausting. So it's not like he hates chess, but he just wants to rest. Yeah, he just wants to rest, and especially Richard, who is original and creative on the board, so he needs more energy, to give us new things and new ideas over the board. But for now, he's in the quarterfinals against Xiong, and the question here is: he going to forget his sickness of chess in the quarterfinals? We'll find out. But back in the prelims, he had this game against Jeffrey. Let's check it out. Jeffrey played e4, Rapport went for c5, knight f3, d6. Knowing Rapport, he could play just anything on the board, and something that will surprise you. He's always that guy, right? You have to, anticipate his surprises. Bishop b5, knight into d7. Okay, another line here would be, instead of 97, it's bishop to d7. Now Rapport wants to keep his bishop, so I'm trying to go for a6 later on. d4 takes, knight takes, g6. All right, a dragon setup for Rapport. Okay, castles, bishop g7. One way also of playing this line for white is to go for c3. Yes. Now, if you play a6, you have bishop a4 and f b5, bishop c2, and in this line it could transpose into a Roy Lopez type of game. Let's say e5 here. You go for e5. Let's say castles, knight into f6. If white plays d4, you just go queen c7. So that's going to be a Roy Lopez type of game, again, coming from a Sicilian. d4 takes, g6. Okay, we have the dragon setup. Castle bishop 7, rook e1. Well, this is a smart decision by Rapport. With bishop b5, it's not so good, with the transposition, which actually favors black. Okay, bishop f1, knight into c5, hitting e4 straight away. 2 knights. f3, queen to b6, pin. And also keeping that bishop on to c1, because bishop e3, black can capture that pawn on b2. So Jeffrey had to play c3. Rapport castled first. Now, if you go e5, immediately white can play knight b5. If you take, or maybe knight d3, the bishop can go e3. You take on b5, you can go knight a3 first. You capture in b2, let's say you want to be greedy. I can go c4, hitting that d6 pawn. The king is still not castled. Yes, if you take on c3, I can take on d6, and white is winning. So pushing e5 with that uncastled king is losing for black. Again, in chess, you have to castle as early as possible. The king is the most important piece. You have to protect the king. Knight a3, trying to go for knight c4 with a tempo. Okay, typical Sicilian, controls b5. Queen c7, again a natural square for the queen in the Sicilian on c7. Knight into e3, b5. Right. especially with that pawn in f3, you have to make way for the bishop on b7. b3, bishop to b7, bishop into a3, rook ac8, normal development, and rook f d8. King h1. All right. The white king tries to move away from the danger, but actually king h1 is a losing move. Here it's black to play, and knowing Rapport is not going to miss it. Yeah, a tactical player, a creative player like Rapport will see this in an instant, and he played the winning move e5. Again, in the game, white played knight e5. Now let's take a look at knight e2, for example. Now with rook d8, with the knight, pawn, and the bishop on b7, black has the push on d5. We have an x-ray on the queen. If you take, exchange on d5, knight takes d5, rook takes d5, then after queen c2, knight d3 is just winning here. Okay, if let's say you go back to c2 instead of e2, it's still the same thing, d5. You are forced to take, knight takes d5, another forced capture because knight takes c3 or knight takes d3 is coming. Knight takes d5, rook takes d5. You are not going to go c2, but you still are going to go going e2. It's the same thing, knight into d3. Yeah. Because if you play knight b4, knight takes c1, knight takes d5, knight takes e2, knight takes e7. Okay, it's a series of exchange, but black wins with knight takes e3. The knight has no square to go. Why? Black is also attacking another pawn on e2. So Jeffrey Xiong played 95. He probably thought that he could save his piece, but takes, and a pin on the queen, right? But Rapport just simply played queen a5, moving out of the pin, but attacking another piece of e2. And a decisive piece takes. The rest is just a matter of technique. c6, it's not dangerous. Queen a5, protecting c7. g3, bishop h6, hitting the rook. f4 was forced. Okay, d8. Rook takes. Oh, bishop h3. Trying to go for c7, right? But no problem. Rook e7, protecting c7 and the queen. b4, just queen b6, keeping an eye on c7. Bishop g2 back. Bishop d7 also go back. h5, g4 square. King g2, knight into e8. 5, queen b4, exchange. Takes. Queen f1, queen b2. King h3. Pin. Threatening rook takes f3 and queen takes c1. The knight keeps an eye on c7. Queen 1, knight c7. No queen e6. No queen e8. After bishop e4, rook f2, white just resigned. You're threatening mate on h2. If you play queen g1 to protect the mate, I can go g5. Yes, what can you do? What to do, Yani? g4 is coming, or bishop f6 first. And then g4. Also, piece. Yeah, if let's say rook f1, g4. Let's try to continue for the mate again. Bishop f6. You take that pawn. Queen e5. You take that pawn. All right, queen g5, and you go back to h3. And the final mate, queen h5. All right, king goes back to h3. It's mated on h5. So this was a game in the preliminaries. Rapport beating the young Jeffrey Xiong, a young grandmaster from the US. All right, so again, the question here remains, is Rapport still sick of chess at this point? We will see in the quarterfinals between Rapport, and Jeffrey. All right. Thank you guys for watching and thank you for supporting our channel. Charles Max Chess and Charles Max Entertainment on Facebook and YouTube. This is Coach Oliver. Stay safe, everyone. Bye-bye.